Hi, it's Timothy Hyde here from ExpertMC.com with another of our insight videos on the art of being a corporate MC. Now, in this video, we're going to look at 7 questions you absolutely must ask your next corporate client before the event. This can either be face-to-face, it could be over the phone, it could be via email, but you must ask these questions before the event, and I suggest you do it a long time before the event. Now, these 7 questions come from a much larger set of about 30 questions, 30 briefing questions that I always ask my clients, and these 30 questions are contained in the ExpertMC ToolKit and Resource Manual, but I thought I'd just share 7 with you now just to put you on the right track and give you a bit of an idea about the sort of things that you should be finding out well before the event. And I do mean well before. You can ask these via email, on the phone, or face-to-face at a briefing session, but find out a few weeks at least before the event. And one of the reasons for this is that you are now part of the team. You're working with your client to create a better event. Some of these things the client may not be thinking about themselves, and they're going to go, oh, we should do that. And so you become a more valuable member. You become indispensable, which is a marvelous thing. So let's get on with the 7 questions. Number 1 is Q&A, questions and answers. Find out if the speakers you will be introducing are expected or required to take questions from the floor after their presentations. Some people get lots of questions, some people don't get any questions, some people avoid questions. Some politicians don't like answering questions. So be clear with your client what the situation is about questions from the floor. The other thing to take note of is there time allocated for those questions? If a speaker has 20 minutes, is Q&A after that 20 minutes, or is the Q&A part of that 20 minutes? That's an important thing for keeping on track. And remember, we've also got 20 or 30 questions that you can ask a speaker as part of the Toolkit and Resource Manual. It's available for you to download. So you will always have a question at the end. If no questions come from the floor, you can chip in with an interesting and appropriate question. So make sure you grab a hold of that. So that's Q&A. Find out whether it's involved, whether it's expected, and what the time constraints are. Number 2 is numbers. Find out early on how many people are expected at the event. Find out the number of delegates who are going to be in the meeting room when you're presenting, and also an approximate number of speakers that you will be introducing. Now, it doesn't need to be exact, but there's a big difference. There's a big difference between being the MC for a group of, say, 50 people or 100 people than there is being the MC at a big room with, say, 500, 600 people. Okay, the sooner you know that, the better, because you can then start working on your script, on the things that you're going to say, perhaps what you're going to wear. Bigger crowds need bigger things. You need to be bigger and a bit bolder and stronger, and smaller crowds you can be a little bit more relaxed. The sooner you know that information, the sooner you can start working on the appropriate material, what you're going to wear on that day, any visual props that you might need, any music that you might need. So the sooner you find out the numbers at your engagement, the better. Number 3. Number 3 is intros and bios. I know I've done a whole video on this, and there's information on our website about intros and bios, but find out from your client what you as the MC are going to receive, and then work from that. Some will provide exact bios, or they will ask the speaker to provide a bio or an intro, and the sooner you know how much work is involved, the better as well. If you're going to have to spend half a day writing some introductions from their bios, or perhaps following up with the speakers themselves, that often happens. You'll get a list of the speakers and their contact details, and you deal directly with them. It's part of the job. So the sooner you can find out what information is coming to you, the better. And it also prompts the client, the event organizer, to get on with that, to start that process happening, so that you aren't arriving at the assignment and they're handing you the sheets then. Better to have them a few days before, because then you can work on the names and the pronunciation, etc. Sooner the better. Always good. Number 4 is how to get an idea about how scripted that your client wants the event, whether it be the event organizer or the actual client themselves, the person having the meeting. Are they going to provide you with an exact script that you will basically read out or slightly embellish? Or are they just going to give you, please introduce them, and get rid of them, and these are the housekeeping notes, etc. Get an idea. One thing I've done in the past is to ask for the previous year's run sheet or script, and then you can see what they did last year, what worked for them last year, and then you'll get a bit of an idea. But the sooner you find out, the better. Find out if there's going to be an auto cue system, where a lot of the anchors or TV presenters will use this, and also at trade shows they want an exact script, and you have to stick word for word for that. So be prepared. If you can find out that information early, also a good thing. Number 5 is speaker gifts. Most speakers who get up on stage at events get a little gift at the end. You're often the one who's going to be presenting that gift, so kind of get an idea about it early on, whether what it is and who gets the gifts. You know, sometimes at events like an association event or a corporate event, some of the speakers won't get a gift. They're either an in-house speaker, maybe they're a member. There might be the chairman who gives an address at the start. He probably won't get a speaker gift, but your motivational speaker who comes in may well get something, a bottle of wine or a commemorative something, glass from the group he's speaking to. So find out early on what gifts are going to be given, who's getting those gifts. Sometimes numbers are important as well, and so that's something you should ask about. Number 6 is the back channel. The back channel. This is the social networking feed that runs behind most events that are running these days. Sometimes it's a little bit regulated, and sometimes it's not. The back channel, like the Twitter feed. Now, I always ask my client, do you have an official Twitter hashtag for this event? And they will say, yes, here it is, or no, we hadn't thought of that, or no, we're too small. So get up to speed with using Twitter and suggest that they do, because you will then control people's comments, questions, feedback will all be there on this Twitter feed, and you can use them during your MC work. You can be reading them, see what people are saying. Oh, the room's too hot, the room's too cold. That sometimes comes up. Now, some clients also are now having their own apps for the conference or the event. So ask early on if this is the case, and can you get access, because the sooner you start playing around with it, you don't want to be learning how to do it on the morning of the event. So ask if they're having one of those. And the clients, they're going to think you're a champ if you bring this stuff up early on. They're going to say, oh, good, and we'll work on that. So that's the back channel. Now, there's one more question I'm going to share with you, but just reminder, if you want to get the full list of 30 questions, they're in the ExpertMC ToolKit and Resource Manual. It's a new section that we've added in to the manual. So if you want to get the 30 questions, that's where you can find them. You see, I keep this list printed out on my desk. So if somebody rings me up and says, oh, hi, it's Joe for the conference next month, and I say, hi, Joe, and I've got time for a chat now, you grab your list and you can start ticking these things off and asking the questions during that phone conversation. So you're always prepared. Also, if I'm going to a face-to-face meeting, I'll print this out as well and take it along to that, so everything is covered. So the 7th question I always ask is about emergencies, emergency procedures. Now, they are probably not going to know the answer to this question, but I ask it because it makes me look good and it makes me seem as though I have their best interests at heart. I say to them, and this is one of the questions I say, now, emergency procedures at the venue, can we find out about that? I'd like to have a meet up and find out what they are when we get to the venue. Now, your client will probably make a note of that. They'll say, oh yes, good. Find out who's in charge. If there's a blackout, if somebody faints during the event, which happened to me just a couple of weeks ago. She nearly fainted on stage and I had to run on and help her off. So I knew what to do in that situation. A lot of events I've noticed now, if it's like a company that's going to a venue, they will have a designated safety person or a first aid person, and that will be the first aid person at the event. So it's good to know who that person is as well. So when you go to the event, also have a meeting with the venue staff. They might take control at that point. The audiovisual operator or the banquets person will take over at that point, but find out what the procedure is. But as I say, it's a great question to ask because your client's going to think, oh, he's on the ball, which you are on the ball. That's why you're here at ExpertMC.com. So that's it. Q&A, numbers of people who are there. Oh, another point about the numbers of people who are there. If you're very nervous about presenting for a large group, the sooner you can start visualizing you working perfectly. You can visualize yourself walking on stage and being the MC with that number of people, or even a small group. Some people get nervous with small groups. I forgot to mention that. So it helps in your visualization. So Q&A, numbers of people, intros and bios, how scripted the whole event will be. Are there going to be speaker gifts and who gets them? The back channel, the Twitter feed, or apps, individual apps, and the emergency procedures. Those are 7 questions out of the 30 questions you can get from the Toolkit and Resource Manual. You can find a link to that down below. If you've liked these ideas, please click the like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any future ideas, and come and visit us at expertmc.com with plenty more resources, plenty more help for you. See you next time.